Welcome to the Sandler Training Hour. You're with your host, Jim and Jason Stevens. And this week, Jim, we've both been having a lot of fun playing around with AI. It's an exceptional tool for those listeners who are curious to know what our baseline is. We use Claude or Anthropic products, but it's really accelerated some of the pattern recognition that you can get. And the real necessity is large amounts of data as opposed to small sample sizes because AI feels terrible when it's looking at one thing and projecting 12 things from it, but it feels a lot better when it's got a larger sample source. So we want to take that framework to then enter this conversation about the post-call and the pre-call plan. So the post-call debrief, if you think about from a manager's perspective, ride-alongs have been the go-to model for years. A trainer imagine this, an owner hires a new salesperson and then thinks, well, I don't want to sell anymore because I started this by doing stuff. Now I'd like someone else to sell. How do you teach someone to sell? I think the default move is, why don't you follow me around? We'll see what happens. So
Yeah,
with that in mind,
that is exactly why I bought a Sandler franchise.
yeah,
Because years ago, this was I started Sandler in 1999, so it's pre that. I had multiple salespeople, and my version of training them was taking them on ride-alongs. And I remember many times I would tell them, "Hey, I just want you to take notes. At the end of the call, I want you to write down what did you see me do and
yeah.
how you would do it in your words." And at the end of the call, I would say, "Yeah, it wasn't that easy. What did?" And they'd either have a blank sheet of paper or random notes that had no cohesion. And it told me one thing: I am a really bad
Hmm.
trainer. I didn't have, I was selling successfully, but I didn't have a system or a process that I could follow or replicate or train someone else on.
Yeah,
And
the
that's where,
ladders the
go
latter
ahead.
is the latter is the higher piece of value where like you didn't have a trainable process, but you did have a process.
Yeah, yeah,
So the
right.
issue is you're doing things that you consider a move and you haven't laid the groundwork because you know what you're doing and there's a
Yeah,
plan. So you're assuming, can't you tell what I'm doing by the way that I'm doing it? Don't you see how
yeah,
X
yeah,
connects
yeah,
to
yeah,
Y?
yeah. And beyond that, while I thought I had a system, my system was so filled with flaws. It was, I mean, my close ratio at that point was probably 20 to 25%. And that was a direct impact to the lack of clarity in my
Yeah.
process.
Yeah. Because probably you
It,
had too many people getting to close that shouldn't have been there in the first
yeah,
place.
yeah, yeah. My version of qualifying was take them through the whole sales process, and if they gave me money, they're qualified.
Yeah. Yeah. So if we paint the picture now, thinking of the pre-call plan, this is something that everyone to some degree should do. All of us, when going into a meeting, should prepare, in fact, for the meeting that we're going into. It
Yeah.
is surprising, but this doesn't always happen. And so the question is why and what can we do about it? And on the what can we do about it? Well, right now, there are tools that can map out like what is the trajectory that we're going? What did the last meeting look like? So
Yeah.
the only meeting that you need to have a specific plan around is probably that discovery meeting because you can create continuity between every meeting that you're holding otherwise.
Yeah, and the continuity that we look for is really the historic knowledge gained by the interaction with the
Yeah.
buyer. The big trap that we often get caught in is people will say you're the expert, So you ask them a question. So what would you like to get out of this meeting? Well, I don't know. You're the expert. You tell me. I'm not sure. I've never done this, or whatever that response is. And that used to really stump me because I am an expert.
Yeah.
And I do know what you should do, and I'm good at telling you.
And
So,
it sounds reasonable.
and I trigger myself constantly, or used to, probably still do, trigger myself into telling too
Yeah.
much. And one of our rules in Sandler is if you're telling, you're selling, and nobody wants to be sold. So for me, preparation has become focusing on becoming the expert in them. So when they say, well, you're the expert, you tell me, I'll say, well, when it comes to the subject matter I am training or suggesting to help you with, I am an expert, but that expertise doesn't provide any value if I am not first knowledgeable about you.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, it's
I
that
first have
framework.
to become an expert in you, your fill in the blank, whatever you're selling them, before I can really engage my expertise to tell you how I think we could go about working together. So, are you
Yeah.
okay with me asking questions? It's getting that element of the upfront contract clearly established so that there's the expectation internally for me of asking questions, and they're externally to them, they're expecting to answer questions. And that changed the dynamics so much. I think that part of the pre-call planning is recognizing, where are you naturally inclined to self-sabotage and
Yeah.
what can you do to focus?
Yeah, if you understand what your issues are, it's easier to recognize them. Like blinders, we all have some degree of blinders, especially when it comes to dynamic communication. If you don't know what yours are, ask your partner. But generally speaking, we should have a plan on what we're going into a conversation to look for. And at the very least, what is our intention setting upfront contract with them? Hey, the purpose of this meeting is blank. We have this amount of time to cover blank.
Yeah.
Are you comfortable with that? And again, to your point, permission-based selling, really important. Taking that aside, assuming that anyone listening to this understands the importance of a pre-call plan and can build one, then let's talk about the post-call debrief. After a conversation, what are the things that you need to take away and take note of? Because this is the other recurring thing. Not only are a lot of people bouncing from meeting to meeting, either through commuting or jumping from one call to the other online, but with that bouncing from meeting to meeting, they are not doing the follow-up to a meeting that needs to be done. What that means is
Yeah.
you or I are liable to hope or trust that
Yeah.
we're remembering to do what we said we'd do.
Yeah. Yeah.
And memory is a loose tool and it's a hard master because you'll remember what other people did wrong a lot faster than you'll remember what you did wrong.
It is so true. And the reality, we live in a time where there are tools that can help us through data collection.
Yeah.
I've been working on developing uh, a uh,
Scorecard,
AI.
really.
What's that?
Scorecard, really.
Yeah, an AI tool that evaluates each of my sales calls. So
Yeah.
I'm dumping the transcript from the sales call and it gives me a readout. And I've had it, I mean, it's pain based. Yeah, yellow, you blew it, or red, you blew it, yellow, you could have done
Okay.
better, green, way to go.
Yeah.
And the data doesn't lie. You
Yeah.
said in the beginning, we've been having fun working with AI. It's kind of a macabre kind of fun. It's the kind of fun that says, gee, I thought I was a legend in my own mind, but I'm really not as good as I think I am. And that's probably because I come into the sales call winging it and I go out of the sales call without a real follow-up plan.
Yeah. Actually, for you, it's probably similar to Uncle Rico, where you're thinking, man, if I could go back where how I am now, I'd win state with this.
Yeah.
And to your point, like the pattern recognition is very powerful, but it's only powerful if you have the direction that you want it to go in.
Yeah.
So as a Sandler trainer, you have a fundamental baseline of terminology, that you're looking to do in a sales call, which makes it really easy to measure whether your process is working or not. You know what you're looking for. For the average listener, they may not have that great of a plan, which means the aggregated patterns that are being recognized aren't tied to specifics, but rather generalities or vagueness. And
Yeah.
that's when AI falls into the trap of saying, you're really right to push back on that. You noticed something that I missed, and that's great insight
Yeah.
from
Yeah.
you,
Yeah. Yeah.
which is these platitudes and these placating responses that don't do what you want it to do because you're looking for an overall process to recognize after every meeting what went well or what didn't go well. So, to the larger problem, if you don't have sales language that you can focus specifically on to map your debrief to it, then what we're talking about may not be that useful to you
Yeah.
because you're looking in general at what happened in a call, and that's just as easily you might define that as a summary. You don't need a summary from every call, though it is useful. It won't help you personally grow as a seller. So
Yeah.
find the system that works for you so that your post debrief or your pre-call plan is structured, and then the pre-call plan can map out on the post debrief to paint the picture of here's what you went in doing, here's what you came out doing, what's the gap between what you thought would happen and what really happened, because that's ultimately where behavior comes into it. Behavior is not what you think you should do. Behavior is what you actually do.
Yeah.
But that's us with Sandler Training. You found your way here, which means you can find your way back to our website. We'd love to hear from you. If you have questions or concerns, reach out. Otherwise, be well. Good luck out there.